Doomer plays WoW. Doomer plays WoW. This is going to be a great video. I can already guarantee you it's going to happen. It's going to be great.
For their pan pizza, but yeah, really, this is more of a thin crust, but I'm not gonna hold that against them.
Fuck it, dude.
Pizzas.
Oh. Yep. Okay. This is amazing. Okay. Wow. Look at that, man. This is, look how beautiful this game is. Okay. Ooh. Said the N-word. Said the N-word. Fuck, dude, that was sad at the end. That was fucking sad at the end. God damn, dude. What the fuck, man? What the fuck? Okay, all right. I guess that's the way it goes. He said the he said the gamer word, man. Like, how can you say the gamer word, man? You're never supposed to do that. And like, watch One Night In. No, all right. I really do think these are. What is this here? Who is the Doomer? Dealing with an age of hopelessness.
If you frequent the internet, you have likely seen memes and videos with a character known as Doomer and or any of his counter characters, Boomer, Bloomer, and Zoomer. If you have not, these are them. Each of these characters represents a distinct personality type, usually associated with a specific generation within current society. The Doomer character is especially popular and is what we will be focusing on here.
Alright.
The Doomer is an individual who is typically in their 20s and male, although a Doomer in the philosophical sense does not need to be either. He or she does, however, need to be someone who feels a sense of aimlessness and loneliness, and is consequently stricken with a deep despair for life. For the Doomer, life is meaningless, and the world is inevitably doomed by humanity's ignorance, greed, and futility. As a result, the Doomer sees little to no reason in engaging in traditional pursuits, and thus retreats from society into apathetic isolation. This character is often used in videos and memes to illustrate various experiences that come with this pessimistic sense of life. Things like working a dead-end job, struggling to maintain or get over romantic relationships, excessive drinking and smoking, feeling alienated from one's friends and family, etc.
Wow.
This character's popularity and widespread relatability is very telling about the conditions of the modern person, specifically that of the current young adult generation. It reveals the depth of pessimism and nihilism being experienced, a hopelessness for both the now and for the future.
Wow, what the fuck?
One of the Doomer's counter characters is the Boomer, the name being derived from the term baby boomer, an individual born between 1946 and 1964, 2 generations or so before the Doomer.
That's my dad.
However, the age and generation of a Boomer does not necessarily matter. What does matter is this character's contrasting outlook on life. Opposed to the Boomer possesses a positive, can-do attitude. More specifically, in the context of the meme, the Boomer's attitude exists in a naive, blissful ignorance of truth. The Boomer chugs along in their ignorant delusion, unaware of the reality in which they live, mistakenly thinking they have it all under control. Where the Doomer is aware of the world's conditions and consequently pessimistic about them, the Boomer is unaware and thus ignorantly blissful. Unlike the baby boomers, the Doomer was born in or around the 90s and grew up through an era when technology developed at an unprecedented rate in an exceptionally small amount of time.
Can we stop making this one about me? Wait, I mean, this is becoming personal. Okay, we're 2 minutes in. This is becoming very, very, very personal. And you know? The advent of the internet as well as affordable internet devices would completely change the way people could experience and understand the world. During this internet generation, children and young adults had access to a completely open and constant flow of information. An ability to see, hear, talk with, and engage in the entire world in real time, all the time. The world would shrink down to fit in the palm of one's hand, allowing one to easily see just how absurd, chaotic, and meaningless it truly is. As a result, a huge portion of an entire generation would realize early on that things weren't all good, that the can-do, positive attitude of the Boomer was outdated and ignorant of what was really going on. That's right. With lingering counterculture narratives from the 60s and 70s, a decreasing popularity in Christianity following the Second World War, and an increasing access to information, this generation would be left with no traditional meaning or hope to fall back on. A generation where many find a piece of themselves in the doomer.
Shit, dude.
So now what? Are we doomed to exist in a world where the options are either blissful ignorance or informed melancholy?
Oh no.
In order to better understand and deal with growing pessimistic and nihilistic tendencies, it is helpful to refer to the work of 19th century philosophers Arthur Schopenhauer and Friedrich Nietzsche.
Okay.
Arthur Schopenhauer is often regarded as the philosopher.
There's one thing I want to say is that if you are feeling this way, just start playing Classic WoW. Just start playing Classic WoW. You will not give a fuck about anything else. You will stop caring about the world. You will stop caring about your life's, drawbacks and limitations and setbacks and failures, and you will focus purely on playing a video game. Like that is the secret, okay? Is you have to find a video game that's worth wasting your life over, and that way you don't feel like you're wasting your life. Problem solved.
For pessimism, arguably the original doomer. Like the doomer's outlook, for Schopenhauer, life is in fact riddled with unavoidable pain, meaninglessness, and absurdity. For Schopenhauer, we are prisoners to our unconscious instinct to survive, reproduce, and sustain existence. And, in a traditional sense, everything we do in life is merely a product of this irrational force, void of any purpose other than to continue to sustain itself. As a result, we live a life of delusion, constantly in a frenzy, trying to impress sexual partners in order to reproduce, and trying to accomplish things in order to find happiness. No wonder he's got a philosophy of pessimism. Schopenhauer writes, "There's only one inborn error, and that is the notion that we exist in order to be happy. So long as we persist in this inborn error, the world seems to us full of contradictions. For at every step in things great and small, we are bound to experience that the world and life are certainly not arranged for the purpose of maintaining a happy existence." In Schopenhauer's mind, we want so badly to believe that we exist to be happy and to have specific purpose, but with an honest examination, we realize we do not. Okay. This perspective does not fall far from that of the doomer.
That's right.
Arguably, neither the doomer nor Schopenhauer are necessarily wrong in their assessments of life.
And they have the same
Life
hairline.
is in fact rife with chaos, pain, and fundamental meaninglessness.
By the way, anybody didn't know that? If you ever see like a late 20s, early 30s guy wearing a beanie, 9 times out of 10 is because he's going bald. Like that 9 times out of 10 is because he's going bald or he is bald. Like I guarantee you, okay? Like every fucking time, man. Like anytime you see him wear a headband, a beanie, a hat, anything like that, you see people like all the time wearing a hat. Why do you think Keemstar's wearing a hat? What do you think's under that hat? Nothing. Nothing's under that hat, man.
The real problem, however, is not found in this realization, but how this realization is handled.
Yep.
Schopenhauer offered 2 solutions for the realization of life's meaningless suffering: asceticism and art. Okay. Asceticism is the disciplined avoidance of pleasure, an overcoming of the unconscious desire and pursuit for the selfish and material, be it things like sex, vanity, money, social status, etc. Schopenhauer felt that by obtaining control over the ceaseless yearning for things, one can find a form of happiness in the present moment. However, Schopenhauer also acknowledged the sheer difficulty in accomplishing this feat.
So you have to be a monk?
For it is not enough to merely realize the senselessness of one's behaviors in order to stop them from occurring. The level of discipline and commitment required would prove immensely difficult for even the wisest of individuals. Alternatively, Schopenhauer provided one other solution: engaging in the aesthetics of art and philosophy as much as possible. In this, Schopenhauer suggested that things like poetry, theater, music, paintings, literature, theory, etc. have the power to reveal and share truth, a truth that liberates the individual during the moments he or she is engaging in it. By expressing our pains and sufferings or engaging in the expressions of others, we feel less imprisoned and less disillusioned in ourself. With this, one does not need to find anything worthwhile or ultimately meaningful in the materialistic or traditional world beyond the mere expression of one's disinterest and pain within it. In expressing pain and absurdity through arts and philosophy, the pain and absurdity is transmuted into wonder and purpose for oneself as well as others.
Yeah, true.
Interestingly enough, the Doomer meme itself embodies this idea. The creation, sharing, and engaging of Doomer content is an example of a Doomer expressing their sense of doom and translating it into something enjoyable and meaningful. In an attempt to take this idea further, we will look to the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher renowned for his nihilistic take on.
So that guy actually literally was basically like, just focus on shit that doesn't, like, you know, it's not like sex or anything, and then focus on art. Like, you could basically translate that over to just play Classic WoW. Like, you don't even really need to take a big leap. You could just say, yeah, that's basically like, yeah, just play Classic WoW. Okay, and he said that in the 30s, man. It's been a while.
Life. Nihilism is the belief in nothing, the principle that nothing has any fundamental meaning at the end of itself, and that life is and will always involve a suffering through this meaninglessness. During his life in the 19th century, Nietzsche found that traditional religion ceased to help the modern person in dealing with the pains of life, and that nihilism was the only rational and practical approach that remained.
Okay.
However, for Nietzsche, the meaninglessness found in nihilism did not suggest that we should give up and retreat into a dull, apathetic life. Rather, the realization that life is meaningless permits the individual to look inside him or herself and create their own meaning and self-identity. The world is full of
that's his
systems and
avatar
pressures
right
to
there.
conform to the
That's
collective.
his character.
Religions, traditions, and
See?
mass movements that attempt to lead us in certain arbitrary
See?
directions. The individual, Nietzsche writes, has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will be lonely often and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. The pressure of accepting mass methodologies and principles in life is, has, and will always be immense.
See, that's right. That's why, you know, whenever you have like your parents and your loved ones and your friends and everything asking you to go outside, you know, like, oh, come play video games, or, you know, come do this other thing with us, come do this, and you want to play WoW, you just want to sit at home and play WoW, and you know, it's hard to do, but you have to do it, you know, and that's, yeah, like, I mean, am I wrong, dude? Like, who here didn't do that? You know what I mean? Anti-memer is so important. Yeah, I mean, really, think about that. I always turn down fun shit like that. Well, because it's not fun to you. You don't like that. Why do you gotta fucking convince yourself that you like doing shit that other people like just because you fucking feel like you want to fit in? That's the only reason you're doing it. You're like, oh, I'm gonna do this because I want to fit in. I want people to like me. No, fuck that, dude. Do whatever you want.
resistance of such comes with feelings of alienation and hardship.
Yep.
However, for Nietzsche, the pain of
Wait, bro, like, I mean, all right, this is too much, man. Like, look at my thing. Look at that. This is getting way too personal. Look at this. I've literally got it on the floor like that. This is way too personal, guys. I don't know what I'm gonna be fucking able to do about this. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and zoom this back in. Yeah, this is out of hand. What the fuck, man? Holy shit. I feel attacked? Yeah, this is literally a video about me. What the fuck?
caving in is infinitely worse. In the context of modern times, perhaps the doomer feels a heightened alienation from the world because the internet compounds the weight of social pressure and a sense of detachment.
That's right.
However, this experience of alienation and despair is not unnatural nor without value. Rather, one must walk deliberately through the mud of life, realizing that there will be ongoing pains and challenges in their self-actualization, and instead of turning away from them, lean into them and face the sufferings head on, developing themselves and their personal meaning, no matter how
Servers
uncommon
are still
or hard
fucking
it
down.
may be. Nietzsche felt that the key to suffering is knowing how to use suffering. I assess the power of a will by how much resistance, pain, torture it endures, and knows how to turn to its advantage, Nietzsche writes.
True.
By
Big true.
inviting suffering
Very
in
true.
and recognizing it as an opportunity to develop wisdom and resilience, we utilize it as a method of creating our own purpose and greatness. In the fundamental pain and meaninglessness of life, we must not find ourselves with an indifference that renders us lethargic and paralyzed away from caring about anything, but rather an indifference that inspires us to create meaning and care for things we deem enjoyable and engaging.
Listen to that. Listen to that one more time, and I want you guys to think about what I'm thinking about.
In the fundamental pain and meaninglessness of life, we must not find ourselves with an indifference that renders us lethargic and paralyzed away from caring about anything, but rather an indifference that inspires us to create meaning and care for things we deem enjoyable and engaging.
There it is, dude. There it is, dude. What does that remind you of?
For both Nietzsche and Schopenhauer, the greatest reason for life is found in the self-realization and self-expression of one's unique truth, the utilization of the suffering and chaos in life and turning it into wonder, wisdom, and greatness. With this in mind, if we square away our life as best we can, accepting the inevitable chaos and suffering, if we obtain the money we can, want, and need to sustain our life, attempting to keep a close eye on our unconscious, irrational desires, and if we live with an interest to create personal meaning and engage in expressive activities, then we can build a life worth living, even in the face of apparent chaos, doom, or futility. This attitude can be found in the hopeful doomer character, Bloomer, a character who, in the meme, possesses the awareness of the sad and painful realities of life, but still sees that there can be purpose to it all.
You know why he's in such a good mood? Because look at his fucking hairline. It's not messed up. Like, I would be so happy. Look at that. Look at that hairline. Like, of course he's in a good fucking mood. Like, look at that. I mean, you see the other guy's wearing a beanie, dude. He's high as fuck. Yeah, that's true. Like, think about that, man. Think about that shit.
Is that there is an opportunity for meaning and wonder to be created and experienced, and that however messy the world may be, it is still worth playing in and trying to make the most of.
So that's why you should probably just play video games all the time, right? And this has always been like my, my mindset is just play video games all the fucking time, and it is gonna be fine. That's what I've always done, and it doesn't work all the way, but usually it does, and that's always the way that I've focused on doing things, right? Just play video games all the fucking time, and do that. Watch A Night in Goldshire. Listen, I don't know if I want to watch A Night in Goldshire. Do you remember Unbreakable the Shaman? Yeah, I remember him. We've seen that plenty.